up, sundown, creatures and gods around. Beware, prepare, it's dangerous. They'll linger in the dark. Climb from below, temples and tombs will fall down. Explore the realms, what is meant to be, take it all. Obey, hear the voice of God, and the best come to your sacred land. Make way to the afterlife. What was once your palace, now your grave. Awaken your soul, dive and devour the Red Sea. Take control and drown the enemies across the vast wild desert. Move your feet along to the rhythm of the sand. Rise and sharpen up your spear. Aim your bow, make them bow down in fear. Chaos and new beginnings. Find your destiny in the metric and the omen of the mind.
Hey, to have peace, yes, Lord, there must be strife. I already see the end of life. I accepted death, my eyes are open. I read and told them there's a light. Eternal life awaits me, yes. No one can dare deny me. I'll gladly give my life. All my people in my kingdom point the way. That's a small price to pay. To God to pray every day. To the promised land, I understand the higher the highest height and the lower the lowest depths. I'm not afraid of my last breath. Life ain't nothing but a test. May the gods only know what's next.
Alarms, hear the voice of God, and the best come to your sacred land. Make way to the afterlife. What was once your palace, now your grave. Awaken your soul, dive and devour the Red Sea. Take control and drown the enemies across the vast wild desert. Move your feet along to the rhythm of the sand. Rise and sharpen up your spear. Aim your bow, make them bow down in fear. Chaos and new beginnings. Find your destiny in the metric and the omen of the mind.
My eyes are open, eternal morning. The crown is golden, I have been chosen. My eyes are open, eternal morning. The crown is golden, I have been chosen.
Awaken your soul, dive and devour the Red Sea. Take control and drown the enemies across the vast wild desert. Move your feet along to the rhythm of the sand. Rise and sharpen up your spear. Aim your bow, make them bow down in fear. Chaos and new beginnings. Find your destiny in the metric and the omen of the mind. Wake up, sundown, creatures and gods around. Beware, prepare, it's dangerous. They'll linger in the dark. Climb from below, temples and tombs will fall down. Explore the realms, what is meant to be, take it all. Obey, hear the voice of God, and the best come to your sacred land. Make way to the afterlife. What was once your palace, now your grave. Awaken your soul, dive and devour the Red Sea. Take control and drown the enemies across the vast wild desert. Move your feet along to the rhythm of the sand. Rise and sharpen up your spear. Aim your bow, make them bow down in fear. Chaos and new beginnings. Find your destiny in the metric and the omen of the mind.
Hey, to have peace, yes, Lord, there must be strife. I already see the end of life. I accepted death, my eyes are open. I read and told them there's a light. Eternal life awaits me, yes. No one can dare deny me. I'll gladly give my life. All my people in my kingdom point the way. That's a small price to pay. To God to pray every day. To the promised land, I understand the higher the highest height and the lower the lowest depths. I'm not afraid of my last breath. Life ain't nothing but a test. May the gods only know what's next.
Alarms, hear the voice of God, and the best come to your sacred land.
Hello, governors. Welcome to Osiris League Season 7 Playoff Round of 16. I am your host, Plauto Gaming, content creator and caster for Rise of Kingdoms, and the match that we will be spectating today is 1718 versus 16OT. These are the first games of the playoff stage, meaning that these two teams have made it through the top 32 group stage to qualify for the round of 16, being the top two teams in their respective groups. In 1718's case, they went undefeated in their group, beating out S79, 1158, and BLN on their way to the first seed. So 1118 going undefeated in their top 32 group stage games, making them the first seed and the top seed in this matchup, while for 16OT, they were actually the second seed in this matchup, as they lost the game in their group stage. However, the game that they lost was actually against the reigning champions 1v. So there's no shame in losing against 1v. They also won games against 71D and Peak, so they definitely shown that they were capable in the top 32 group stage, that they are able to fight toe-to-toe even against 1v and give them a run for their money. So this matchup should be very, very exciting and interesting, to the point where both teams actually had a great group stage run leading up to the first playoff game against each other. But one of the most interesting aspects of this matchup is that 16OT is technically the second seed, but in Eye of Talent, or in betting, they are actually favored according to league bets to win the matchup today. So people in Rise of Kingdoms have been voting for 16OT, even though they technically lost a game in their group stage. So we will see shortly if 1718 will be able to prove the doubters wrong and show the same dominance that they did during their group stage run, and if they will be able to continue on to the quarterfinals of this playoffs. So some of the most interesting things that we've been seeing in this new Raging Sands Osiris League format is the strategies have definitely been, there's been a lot of variety in different strategies that we've been seeing in the different matches here. In the group stage, in the top 32 group stage, we would see that there is actually a lot of different open field fights going around in different places, because with fog and not being able to see enemy marches, it's kind of like a surprise where you are going to establish or where you're going to make contact with the enemy marches. We saw some marches be used as scouts, as little mini portable sentries that people were using, people face checking different murder balls so that they would know if there's a murder ball there or not. And one of the biggest things I think I've been seeing is the provisioning scores, specifically within the last couple of weeks, compared to, well, specifically this season compared to seasons prior, have definitely been lower, because with there being fog, you actually cannot see the caravan sites. So you actually, like, all the provisioners have to walk into the fog and kind of find their caravan, or find where they are going to start collecting for those points. So the really interesting things here, a lot of mid focus, although we have seen teams focus structures and win as well. So it's definitely a lot more about figuring out where the pressure is coming from within the matches, figuring out where your opponents are trying to attack, and then responding with an adequate amount of response to see if you can defend your structure, or at least hold it for as much as possible. One of the biggest things I think I've been seeing, and what kind of dictates a really, really good team, is march swapping a garrison, meaning if you have a march around it, and it's completely healthy, or it's healthier than the march inside of your garrison, you swap out the marches so that the garrison can stay as healthy as possible, meaning that you can hold the structure longer. Maybe you could squeeze out a couple more points, but more importantly, you're denying the structure from your opponents, making them you're denying the structure from your opponent, making them feel the pain of not having that structure and kind of create more of that gap that we were looking for, that we were talking about here. So we will see if 1718 and 16OT will be doing so. If you're in the playoffs, kudos to you. It has been a long journey to get into these playoff matches, going through the qualifiers, going through the group stage, and now finally being here, the first knockout stage that we have for this season. And this matchup should be very, very interesting. We are going to be in the realm of Horus, which is the oldest realm in Osiris League. And them being the oldest, you get to see some familiar faces here and fight against familiar faces. So these two kingdoms definitely it's going to be an upwards climb for them, but this is the first step in their knockout stage run to go to the finals. As we get into the game here, it actually looks like, as I said, 16OT, even though they are the second seed, they are favored in terms of the voting. 60.5% of the audience think 16OT will win this game. Meanwhile, 39.5, so it's going to be a pretty good payout if 1718 is able to pull it out. Let's look at the powers over here. It looks like a lot of people powered up, averaging at about a mil. We have a 79 in the front lines over here, but most of the people have over a million power. So they should be running full T5s, although there might be some healing if you're just at a million power. In the meanwhile, 16OT also okay. Matchup starting in 5 seconds here. 4, 3, 2, 1. There you go. Matchup has started. We are going to see the open field marches coming in. We actually got a Justinian open field here. Kind of curious to see what that march composition will look like as we see the marches starting to stream out here. Double C, of course, being that super speedy march going into the outpost, as they're trying to capture these outposts as fast as possible here. Hidden sentry used by 16OT in this upper area, actually, between the Shrine of Life and the Sky Altar. So it looks like they're trying to make sure that they have complete vision around their Sky Altar and to see if there's any opponents coming through. We will definitely see a lot of fights around the Desert Altars, and that's going to be the heaviest contested objective here, as we see 1718 actually having 4 rallies on the different obelisks here, as well as 4 rallies from the 16OT, but it actually looks like they have some outpost rallies as well. So we'll have to see if they try to capture these outposts early and try to, stunt the points that way, or if they are actually doing these as transport rallies. We will keep an eye on the Desert Altars to see who hits first. So it looks like we should be able to see some form of rally go through these Desert Altars here. There we go, as we see the infantry rally come out. But it's and the infantry rally coming through here. So it's actually pretty interesting that they use different pairs here with what they used. Okay, this is actually Tariq with Sargon. So that's actually an actual rally pair where you can actually hit a structure with that. Meanwhile, with the Guan Yu, you definitely know that it is a it is a transport rally, as we see the Guan Yu rally coming through here. So it actually looks like 16OT have a pretty decent positioning here, as 1718 is currently postured behind their Desert Altar. We'll have to see which marches are coming here first. It looks like there are a lot of cavalry marches coming from 16OT around this Desert Altar. As for the opponent Desert Altar, actually 1718 also has a really good positioning here. They actually have first contact here with a march And it actually looks like this march is walking towards their obelisk here. I'm curious to see if they're actually going to rally this obelisk. This is an actual cavalry rally, and if you see a cavalry rally, that means that they are actually trying to capture the outpost. It is not a transport rally, it is an actual rally here. So let us see if 1718 will be able to capture this obelisk with this Nevsky Joan. There is no reinforcements around this. There is a Heraclius garrison inside of this obelisk, so we'll see if they'll be able to hold this for a full minute here. It's looking really interesting. It is a YSS and with a Heraclius, so full mixed garrison. There are a couple of marches here from 1718 that will be able to swarm down this obelisk as well as reinforce the rally if needed. So let's see what happens here. Oh my goodness. 16 OT is now responding, but it might be too little too late here. If they take this obelisk, if 1718 takes this obelisk from 16 OT and delays the teleports, that's going to be huge for them. But yeah, it looks like 16 OT is filling with marches, which is exactly what you need to do here. You want to make sure this obelisk is topped off as much as possible. But there was another 1718 march dedicated and sent up for this obelisk. 10 seconds left for this obelisk to capture. Will 16 OT be able to capture and start the teleports here? 3, 2, 1. And it does look like 16 OT was able to teleport in their cities, which is huge for this obelisk. And I'm really impressed by 16 OT here, showing the discipline not to just send all of their marches around, all of their Desert Altar marches here. But it does look like they're kind of getting pushed back in this Desert Altar. Let's check the dots here. Yeah, they definitely are getting pushed back by 1718 in their own Desert Altar as it opens in 1 second here. There you go. And yeah, 1718 getting the first tap here. Let's see if they have a garrison for this. This is looking pretty dire for 16 OT, actually. I was really impressed with their ability to hold this obelisk, but the amount of marches around this Desert Altar is pretty concerning. It looks like they have a 1-to-2 ratio here. 1-to-2 ratio here. So there is only a Guan Yu inside of the Desert Altar. So there is a Guan Yu inside the Desert Altar, so it should be okay. There is also a Sargon. Let us see the other Desert Altar here. And wow, it actually looks like 16 OT was taken out at both Desert Altars here. Looking really, really dire for them here. 1718 looking to have a very, very strong start, capturing all 3 outposts, capturing both Desert Altars. And now the thing that we'll be looking at here is if 1718 will be able to hold this Desert Altar for first cap. If they're able to hold this for first cap, they're going to be ahead in points by a lot here. Because the first cap for Desert Altar specifically gives around 750 points, which is, half an arc essentially for the first arc. So it is a lot of points. It looks like 16 OT is starting to rotate mid here. As we see the early rotation at 5 minutes, it looks like they're trying to make sure that, okay, our structures might not be looking too hot here, but they're only down 1 Desert Altar and a couple outposts here. So even though it's not the best scenario, at least if they capture mid, they might be able to control the tempo and kind of stabilize the game here, I think is the game plan. And as we see them pushing up to the Desert Altar, let's see if is there a rally on this? Oh, there is a rally. There is a Tariq, I believe, Pakal rally on it, and it's getting swarmed down, sad-faced. There is a Ditto garrison as well. It looks like they're still trying to swarm down this Desert Altar, though, with the remaining marches that they have. It actually looks like OT's getting pretty thin here. But yeah, they definitely want to hold the structure here. 14 seconds to go, 10 seconds to go for them to get an extra 750 points of first cap for the Desert Altar. 5, 4, 3, 2, and they are able to hold, just barely getting the first points. And look at the point differential here. 3.4 to 1.6k points is a very, very high point differential, mainly due to them being able to get first points from this Desert Altar. Huge win from 1718, as we see the mid fight starting to progress here, as we see 16OT murder balling above the Temple of Osiris, making sure that they have positioning here. So they are definitely going to be a more mid-focused team as of now. It looks like they're like, okay, after the first rotation, after everyone sad faced the first time, let's just all go mid. Let's just take control of this Ark of Osiris, and then from there we will try to make it happen with the structures, which is why the Desert Altar has been retaken here. Actually, it keeps going back and forth. So this is still a win for 1718 though, because as long as they're able to deny some points here, the point gain from both teams, 440 points per minute for 1718 to 200 points per minute from 16OT. So it is more than half of the points. 1718 is getting more than half of the points per minute from 16OT here. So they definitely need to win this mid fight. They definitely need to win. And this is the face check I was talking about. Just bring a one cav march, one really fast march to make sure that, poke their head in, see if there are any marches about, see how many marches this march is scouting to see if they are going to be going mid for this fight, because it is a rather late rotation by 1718. It is a rather late rotation by 1718 here. So yeah, look at this Joan of Arc. We're getting so much information, although it's starting to get swarmed down. Maybe this is a distraction tactic. It's like, oh yeah, you can't chase my march or else you won't get some mid positioning here. So very interesting tactic that we see from them. So yeah, let's see what happens here with this mid fight. 1 minute 48 seconds here for the mid fight. It looks like 16OT is starting to walk up. Like they're literally almost touching 16OT, 1718. This mid fight is definitely gonna kind of dictate the pace of the game. To see if there'll be more than one mid fight. We'll see if 16OT opts into continuously recapturing this Temple of Osiris and recapturing the Ark, because they are down by a lot of points right now. Being down almost double the points that 1718 does. Total vision popped by both teams. Dust up by 1718. So there you go. Let's see how this mid fight goes. Dust up now by 16OT. So they are even in the skills here in this mid fight. It looks actually like 1718 is getting the wrap on 16OT. There are some marches in the back here from 16OT that could be helping out in the front lines here. Pretty curious to see, as we see 1718 starting to push up into the middle of the murder ball of 16OT. As we see, yeah, look at that. They're actually pushing up to this Temple of Osiris. Will 16OT be able to hold their mid presence that they had? It looks like they're getting sad-faced here, actually. 16OT is getting sad-faced here. So a huge win for 1718 if they're able to capture this arc, because if they're winning the mid game and they're winning the arc game here, it's going to be very, very hard for 16OT. Okay, as we see 1718 winning the mid fight here, so it's looking really dire for 16OT. Oh my goodness. 1718. Wow, they won the structures early. They also won the arc here. So the game plan for 16OT now is to kind of regather their structures here. It looks like they were able to capture the Shrine of Life, and they are contesting the Sky Altar here. So and they were able to capture the Shrine of War, so they're able to at least get back some of the points from the structure game. But yeah, great stuff by 1718. Just winning out the structure game, and even though they didn't have mid positioning, they just went in and overall had more. I think they had more marches than 16OT. So it's just like rotating the right amount of structures here, or right amount of marches, so that they could win this mid fight. In the meanwhile, it looks like 16OT is going back to the structure game, trying to capture these altars. I think is the biggest priority. And as we see that, as I say that, 16OT is bringing some marches to contest these structures. As we are back, 1718, they are holding this Desert Altar push here. I'm really impressed by 1718's open field, actually. The way that they're able to manipulate their marches, where they had a bunch of people around Desert Altar, they had a bunch of people around their own Desert Altar, but they were still able to have a lot of people mid. It's kind of like they're everywhere at the same place. As we see 1718 pushing this Desert Altar here, and as well as 16OT, 16OT pushing the 1718's Desert Altar as well. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit flustered. I have no idea why the stream is not working here, but I'm going to do my best to cast it as much as possible, the best I can here. And actually, it does look like the arc was dropped, so 16OT is dedicating some marches at least to stall this arc capture, and it looks like they're actually going to tap this arc and bring it over, which is pretty interesting because if you actually take the arc and if you actually let your opponent take the arc and like capture it, it actually resets the timing here. So it reset from whatever time it was back to 15 minutes before you're forced to capture the arc, meaning that the mid fight, if 1718 wanted it to, is actually going to be delayed here. So yeah, there you go. It looks like 16OT having some marches to pester the arc carrier while also bringing marches to this Desert Altar is the play. It also looks like the Sky Altar is being contested here, but it does look like 16OT will have the numbers to recapture that Sky Altar here. The points are actually in 16OT's favor here, 740 to 440 points per minute, because they were able to capture this Desert Altar. This is huge. This is going to be huge for the comeback if they're able to continuously hold this Desert Altar. So we'll have to see if 1718 opts to redo the mid fight as soon as possible by capturing this arc, or if they're like, okay, let's try to stabilize the structure game, try to recapture or capture this Desert Altar, try to recapture the Sky Altar, because the points per minute is actually bringing this game back. We saw them down by almost 2.5k. Now the lead is down to 1.2, so, or 1.6. So it is getting smaller and smaller as the game progresses, as the structures continue to go 16OT's side, specifically the altars. As we see Jan definitely being a really good garrison here. Looks like 1718 has this Desert Altar under control, but there are some 16OT reinforcement marches coming in as well. So let's see what happens if there's going to be a rally for 16OT. Yeah, definitely in this situation, you want to make sure you continuously pressure this Desert Altar, try to keep this Desert Altar honest. And this is what they're doing here. Because if they capture this Desert Altar, it's going to be even worse for 1718 in terms of the points per minute department, because without any altars, you are going to be very you're going to be lacking with the amount of points you get here. So it looks like the Desert Altar here is safe. And here we go. The Sky Altar actually being contested by 1718. It looks like they will be able to finally recapture their Sky Altar, which is going to be huge for them. And as I say that, 16OT is, look at them. They are march swapping as much as possible here. The extra marches delaying the Sky Altar cap by around like 10-15 seconds. So big march swap here. But they were finally able to recapture the Sky Altar, making the points a bit more even here. As we continue to see the Desert Altar being swarmed down here, I see an obelisk getting rallied. It is a Justinian rallying this obelisk. It looks like they do have some marches swarming down this obelisk here, but pretty interesting as the arc is up here in the top right. So maybe they're like, oh, maybe if they fell asleep, maybe we could capture this obelisk, try to get a sneaky capture. But yeah, it's it's looking pretty interesting. 16 OT, look at them. They are actually holding the open field in front of the Desert Altar so that they can continue to swarm down and rally down the 1718 structure. Yeah, look at that. They're holding back the open field so that the swarmers and the rally could take this Desert Altar for free, while the reinforcement marches can't actually reach the structure. So really interesting strategy here. Will this work for the Desert Altar? The Desert Altar is looking pretty low. It looks like there are some marches from 1718 just beelining for this Desert Altar, trying to make sure that they get in here ASAP. But it does look like this 1718 Desert Altar will fall. But they did take the Sky Altar as well. Oh, at the same time. Okay, so there's trading structures here. It looks like they traded altars here in this top side, which is pretty interesting. 16 OT definitely having a lot of open field here, but it looks like 1718's Murder Ball is starting to move down here to try to recapture it. And within a minute, there should be a rally on this Desert Altar. As we see the other Desert Altar actually being contested as well. Jan Garrison, Jan Heraclius versus an Edward. I mean, not an Edward. Henry here. Apologies. It's Henry Leung for this rally, and it looks like this Garrison is starting to go down. Will they be able to march swap? They were not able to march swap in time here. So it looks like 1718 is starting to stabilize their structure game, actually. The structure game is stabilizing for them, them being at 440 points per minute compared to 230 points per minute for 16 OT here. So it looks like them holding this arc was a good practice, because now that they have the arc and they're able to take 3 out of the 4 altars here, they will be winning in the structure game, and they will start winning in the arc game, of course, because they have the Arc of Osiris here. So they're at a really good spot here, 1718. As they cleared the open field around this Desert Altar as well. So this might be 4 out of 4 altars. As we also see, yeah, they have this altar held down. I think this altar looks pretty safe as well, with the amount of healthy marches of 1718 around the altar. So it does look like they will be able to capture all 4 altars here, which is going to be a huge blow to which is going to be a huge blow to 16 OT, and a huge win for 1718 here. Having all 4 altars means that, yeah, the points per minute, 590 to 200, is looking pretty dire for the 16 OT squad, as they are routing, regrouping for this from this Desert Altar. I think the biggest thing for them is trying to recapture their own altars first, which is what we're seeing here from the Sky Altar. They do have a lot of marches here, contesting the Sky Altar. It looks like they don't actually have a rally though. There you go. It's Justinian with Nevsky rally. And as I say that, 1718 does capture the Ark of Osiris. So 1718 was able to stabilize the building game, actually win the building game, not even stabilize. And after that, they're like, all right, now that they're starting to put more emphasis on the building game, let's start up preparing for this mid fight. As we see the arc will spawn in about 8 minutes here, and 16 OT was able to recapture their own Sky Altar. Are they going to be able to recapture their own Desert Altar here? The Desert Altar is looking pretty low from 1718. They don't have that many marches, so I think this Desert Altar will fall as well here. Ditto Garrison is a pretty good garrison, but if it's getting swarmed down like this without that many reinforcement marches, it is going to be pretty hard to hold, as 16 OT is able to recapture their own Desert Altar. So they have their own structures now, except for these outposts. These outpost teams, man, have the 1718 outpost team. I'm guessing they have people dedicated to capturing outposts, have been relentless, just recapturing and capturing outposts over and over again. And the point gain now is 380 points per minute to 200. So 1718 has a lead. They're winning points per minute, and now they're they're posturing towards this mid fight here. As we see a sentry here, just to make sure to see if when 16 OT is rotating over to this mid fight. It's going to be pretty interesting to see what 1718 does with that knowledge. If they continue to try to hit some of these structures here, if they continue to do the structure game and kind of pull 16 OT away from the mid fight, or if they use that to indicate, okay, we got to start going mid as well. If they try to respond with the same pressure that 16 OT will be putting towards this mid lane, as we actually see 16 OT having a lot of success with the Sky Altar. This outer lane looking very, very, very strong from 16 OT. Being able to capture the Sky Altar over and over and over again is actually keeping them in this game. As you see the points per minute, it is still in favor of 1718, but that is because the two altars here have, well, the Desert Altar here hasn't started generating points. As soon as this Desert Altar starts generating points, I think they will start at least being even or even in the lead in points per minute here. Yeah, 150 points per minute added on top of this. They will start gaining on the lead here, but it is a 2k lead, so it's not over, but this mid fight will definitely dictate if they will be able to this mid fight will definitely dictate if they will be able to, if this game will stabilize the game for 16 OT here. Okay, as we see 16 OT getting swarmed down here in this Desert Altar. 16 OT getting swarmed down here, and 1718 was able to recapture this Desert Altar. I think this is a very interesting strategy by 1718 actually. Instead of going mid when there's 4 minutes to go, which is what, you know, most teams do, they're like, all right, let's blitz their structures. Let's try to, you know, make sure that these structures, and that they have to pick between rotating mid or saving their structures here, because look at the amount of marches that they sent towards this Desert Altar. As it actually looks like 16 OT will be able to swarm back down, but this is still a win for 1718 because they were able to stunt the point gain. They were able to stunt the point game of 16 OT, as we see actually 16 OT still winning. I think it is due to them holding the Sky Altar for a little bit there. It is actually dead even in points. So if it's dead even in points, whoever is leading is winning, because they just want to keep the status quo here. 1718 just wants to keep the status quo here. So 16 OT is starting to, you know, starting to feel that the pressure here, because they are the ones that have the onus. They are the ones that need to put the pressure on 1718 here. So really interesting stuff where 1718 1718 just need to hold. They just need to hold onto the lead that they already have, and they need to hold on to they just need to hold onto the lead they already have. They need to hold on to, oh, actually they still have the arc. Oh, okay. I thought they captured the arc, but I thought the arc this whole time. Okay. So yeah, this even proves my point even more, because now that they still have the arc in their hands, that's going to increase their lead even more so. So this mid fight is actually going to be do or die for 16 OT, because if they don't get those points from the mid fight and from the Arc of Osiris, it's going to be so hard for them to come back just from structures alone, especially with them kind of going even in the structure game with 1718 here. So yeah, this is looking really tough for 16 OT. I guess if we're looking from an outside perspective here, how would 16 OT win this game? Well, they would have to stabilize the structures. They'd have to hold the structures. They would have to win the mid fight, and then instantly capture the arc, and then from there maybe try to get a. I think it's already too late into the game for a third arc, right? I think, yeah, definitely. I think 1718 guaranteed that there will be one arc as they actually captured the arc. So now the arc will be respawning in 8 minutes. As we see the Sky Altar being swarmed down, but there are a lot of marches by 1718 protecting this Sky Altar. As for the 16OT Sky Altar, it is getting rallied down as well, but it does look like they have some reinforcement marches in the back here. We got the Double C, we got the Belisarius from 16OT ready to garrison this Sky Altar whenever needed. Actually, wait, they need to garrison it now. There you go. Wait. They got it. Okay. I was about to say, this Sky Altar is getting chunked down by 1718. The 16OT Sky Altar is actually looking like it will go down here. They definitely need to march swap this. Maybe this is a garrison lead? I'm not too sure, but they were not able to march swap, which means 1718 was able to recapture the Sky Altar, and they were able to capture the Desert Altar here as well. So 1718 winning the structure game here, as Arc will spawn in 6 minutes 50 seconds. And they're definitely making it hard for 16OT to come back, because if 16OT doesn't have their structures, they don't have the points per minute to come back to lessen this lead that they have here. This almost, I think it is, yeah, it's 5k lead that 1718 has is going to grow even more so with the point differential here, almost gaining double the amount of points that 16OT is. 1718 is doubling the amount of point gains per minute, meaning that they're extending the lead that they already have, which is huge. Having all 4 altars is going to be really, really tough for having all 4 altars is going to be really, really tough for 16OT to mount this comeback, because you need these altars to gain these points. You need, yeah, actually 16OT would need all 4 altars, in my opinion, to start gaining some points here on 1718. So yeah, it's 1718 is looking really, really strong here, showing why they were the first seed in their group. As we see 16OT trying to at least pressure, keep the structures honest. But yeah, look at that, 1718 just protecting the structures here. They have the same amount of marches as 16OT, so they should be able to hold that. They are able to hold off the 16OT push to this Desert Altar. They are also sad facing their marches to the Shrine of War, so it looks like they're starting to rotate mid. As we see 16OT, they know that this mid fight is going to be their last chance to do anything or mount a comeback for this Arc game, for this Osiris League game. This is going to be their Osiris League hopes on the line here for this middle fight. As we see them starting to walk to the Temple of Osiris first. But in my opinion, it does look like 1718 has more marches moving at the same time. And that's one thing that I think is really, really important, is that 1718, even though they rotate, it's not even that much slower, but last arc, they rotated a lot slower than 16OT, but they rotated together. And the fact that they rotated together, the fact that they had all these marches able to fight and murder ball together, and they were able to overwhelm 16OT, even though 16OT had the positioning advantage. So positioning matters, yes, but if you have the numbers advantage, then it doesn't matter. Then you'll still win the open field murder ball here. As we see 16OT to the south of this Temple of Osiris, 1718 to the north. So there's no positioning advantage in this arc fight. And it does look like 1718 is sending a lot of people from the top lane here. But look at that. Yeah, 16OT knows if we don't capture this arc, our playoff chances are over. So this is all or nothing for them. All hands on deck. Everyone, please come to this mid fight and rotate now, as there are 3 minutes left to go. I would be pretty surprised if they're actually trying to take the Desert Altar. I think it was just a March trying to stat face onto it. And look at that. They have a counter ward, where a counter sentry, so that they're able to attack and destroy the 1718 sentry. So that's, at least some vision taken away from 1718. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see 16OT, 1718. Will they be able to take this arc and keep this game, even up this game a little bit, or will they lose at this arc and essentially lose the game for them? And by losing the game, they lose their hopes and their chances for the rest of this Osiris League playoffs. It's a win or go home situation right now. So the pressure is on. It looks like 1718 is taking is making the first move here, moving to the south of the Temple Osiris, to the southwest, while 16OT is in the southeast. So it looks like the fight will be taking place to the south of the temple, which is actually in 1718's favor. They will be able to have a march just free take from the north, and they are able to contest any marches from 16OT that are trying to take from the south. So that is why they positioned here. I think if 16OT is going to go in, I think they got to go in now, because they have a lot of marches, 1718 does, streaming from the bottom lane, although 16OT does as well. They have the numbers advantage, I believe, so I think they just got to start this fight early. Let's see what it looks like. They're starting to go in now. There you go. The fight has commenced. Total vision by 1718. Total vision by 16OT. Dust up by 1718. Let's see. To the death. There you go. 16OT using to the death. But in my opinion, I feel like their murder ball was a bit split. There were a couple marches in the back that I saw from 16OT that didn't go in right away. You want to make sure all of your marches go in at the same time so that you're all dealing damage. But to the death used by 16OT. Let's see if that'll be the difference. And if they will be able to win this mid fight here. It looks like if we go from the dot perspective, 1718, one thing I will say about their murder ball is that they don't stay clumped. They definitely spread out, try to mitigate as much AoE as possible, especially, those William lines. So it looks like, I don't know, in my opinion, it looks like 1718 is kind of winning here. I see more red than blue, but that just might be the skill damage. But look at the sad faces coming from 16OT. Look at the amount of sad faces. Oh my goodness. But we do see some sad faces from 1718. Arc is spawning in 10 seconds. It looks like 16OT though are getting pushed out of this arc. They're getting pushed down here. 2-1 as we see the arc carrier trying to run away from these marches. And there you go. They're trying to take this arc as fast as possible here. It looks like they will get the pull to the north, which is huge because this is super far away from any 16OT marches except for the two that are currently hitting the arc carrier. And as we see the pull coming from 1718, they're starting to pull away with this arc. So they were able to win this mid fight. They're able to get the first pull, although the arc was dropped here. Let's see if 1718 will be able to recapture this arc, and it looks like they will be, as 16OT is routed from this mid fight. Kudos to 1718. They won the mid fight with total vision dust up compared to the death from 16OT. And I think one of the biggest thing that contributed to that is that 16OT had some marches in the back that were not hitting any marches. So even though they might have started hitting halfway through the murder ball fight, you definitely want to make sure your team is concise with when they fight here. It's like, okay, like if we're going in, everyone has to go in at the same time. And that's a tough part about being the one that initiates the fight, because if you initiate the fight, you have to make sure everyone goes in with you. Meanwhile, if you are getting initiated on, the opponent is inside of your murder ball, meaning that you don't have to walk as far if you're not paying that much attention. You just have to pick a march and hit it because the marches will be right in front of you. Anyways, as we see 16OT trying to take this desert altar, but look at the amount of marches. 1718 seems like they have marches everywhere. Like they are omnipresent in this match. Just being able to respond to anything 16OT throws at them. As we see yeah, like they're trying to contest, but yeah, look, there are just way too many marches swarming down this altar here, and it does look like 16OT knows that if they capture this arc, this game's over, because it's not only them catching, it's not only 1718 gaining points, it's 16OT losing the opportunity to gain points from the arc. So it's just an overall, like, the delta is going to be way, way, way too hard to deal with here, as we see. The point gain is on 16OT's favor, but the amount of points that they have to gain is really, really high. They're down by about like 7k. So I don't think the structure game will win them unless like they take all of the 1718 structures, but it's proving difficult to take 1718 structures for 16OT, especially this desert altar. This desert altar has been steadfast for 1718, a pillar for their point gain here. As we see, yeah, 1718 just defending the arc against the marches, beelining from 16OT here. So it is looking like a 16OT using dust up, just trying to get as much of an advantage as possible. They're starting to swarm down this desert altar here. It does look like 1718. I mean, 1718 knows that this arc is their means to a comeback. So if they're able to hold this arc until the game ends, and just capture it with like 8 minutes left to go in the match, it means that no other arc can spawn, and that 16OT can't even try to mount a comeback. So it's going to be really, really tough for 16OT here. I guess the biggest takeaway from 1718 that I saw was they didn't panic that they weren't at mid first. The way that they use their marches, like everyone's doing something all the time. So like you won't, as I say that, there's a couple AFK marches, but when the game was pretty close, it's pretty tough to find any 1718 AFK marches here, because which is huge, because you want to make sure that every single march is contributing in some way, shape, or form. If you're not moving towards somewhere, attacking something, if you're not attacking something, or moving, then you're not really exerting pressure onto your opponent. And that's one thing 1718 did super, super well, is that, oh, by the way, the obelisk was captured. Oh? Obelisk was captured, but they were able to recapture it. 1718 was. So it looks like 16OT is trying, to make this arc as challenging as possible. Just trying to recapture, the obelisk, trying to take out the arc carrier. But yeah, this arc is as far away from 16OT cities as it can be. So it looks like that arc will be secured by 1718. Really, really, really good game by 1718. I guess the biggest thing, again, the biggest takeaways you can take from 1718 here is 1718 was able to they were able to use their marches in a very, very effective way, where they were continuously putting on pressure, and 16OT definitely felt that pressure, losing both their altars at the same time from stretches of the game when they didn't have arc was huge, and that's what really generated this point gap. If they're able to hold their structures, and then the only difference was the arc game, then the game would still be relatively close. But because 1718 was able to use their marches super, super well, and I guess that's one thing too, is that mid positioning, even though it is important, it isn't everything, because you can still lose the mid fight if your opponents have more numbers, and if they have I feel like their murder ball discipline is super, super impressive, because while they were in this mid fight, they were actually pushing the murder ball towards the Temple of Osiris, meaning that they were able to because they're able to push towards this Temple of Osiris, they were able to just break the murder ball of 16OT and capture the arc themselves for that first arc capture. So really impressive stuff from 1718. 16OT definitely put out a good showing. It was a great run for them. They did fight, 1v in their group stage, which is tough, which means that they had to be the second seed. And being the second seed means that you have to fight a first seed, which is 1718 in this case. And 1718 is definitely a very, very strong team. There's no shame in losing with them. I guess the biggest thing for me that I saw from them was, I feel like they got a bit overpowered with the open field fights, with the structure fights too. And the march swapping could definitely, like these marches here. I mean, that march got in. Will this Liang go into the structure as well? Is a real question. There you go. The Liang is going into the structure. So they are march swapping, but I guess it's just 1718 is just swarming every single structure. So it's just hard to hold when you don't have the numbers around the structure and they continuously swarm it. As we see 1718 again take all 4 altars, which has been the name of the game for them. Taking all 4 altars is the reason why they're able to win by such a high point variance here. So huge win for them. 10 minutes to go in the match. The arc is being held. And we see 16OT still fighting. They're still trying to, at least capture some of these structures back, at least capture the enemy desert altar. As we see 1718 also having a lot of murder ball presence, a lot of field presence here. And that's a tough part about, being the aggressor against a structure is, do you hit the marches that are attacking you, or do you just swarm down the structure? Is a very hard question to answer. Usually you want to clear the open field, clear the marches around the structure first, but it looks like 16OT, as I said, they are kind of getting overwhelmed in the open field aspect of this match here, as we saw them lose 2 back-to-back mid fights. 1718 definitely has the numbers in that respect. So yeah, look at the 1718 marches go here. I feel like they had a number disadvantage, but now look at the amount of numbers they have. And one thing that I definitely see a lot is that 16OT's marches are always clumped up in its center, and it looks like 1718 has kind of like a U shape, kind of like an umbrella. So what that means is that the AoE going into that little murder ball in the center will definitely hit more marches than if there's an umbrella, because the umbrella will mean that you either hit one side or the other side, or the middle. You can't hit all of them at the same time. Meanwhile, the ball will just be hit by any form of AoE possible. So I think that's also one reason why 1718 has been winning these mid fights super handily, is that their positioning has been really great. Individually, the micro from all of these players has been really fascinating to watch as well, as they're able to hold their own desert altar here. It looks like the other structure that is being contested was the Shrine of Life, but it looks like it is the rally has stat faced. The Sky Altar is being contested by 16OT here, but it does look like look, there's just so many marches from 1718. Being at the right place at the right time is so important for these art games. So huge win from 1718, just knowing where to be and responding to the pressure. I feel like most teams kind of have a set team, like, all right, you guys go here, you guys go there, but in 1718's case, it kind of looks like to me that they kind of just have marches at the right place at the right time, and kind of having I guess some flex players. I'm not too sure if that's true, but yeah, there are just so many marches all over the place here. As we see the 16OT Sky Altar being swarmed down as well. We got the Henry with Liang here, rallying down this Sky Altar with a swarm. As I said, it's tough to reinforce these structures because as soon as you get in the structure, your march is going to be yellow just due to the amount of damage being put out onto this Sky Altar. As we see some 16OT marches starting to come in now, Let's see if they just instantly start going into the structure. One interesting mechanic actually, if you're swarming down a structure, the marches trying to get into the structure kind of do this circle dance where they have to find an opening. That's what I found when trying to reinforce the structure, and sometimes that can mean the difference. So as we see 16OT fighting with some Siege in this Shrine of War over here. Siege is the new meta from 16OT as the game starts to wind down. 6 minutes to go as we see... Oh! 16OT using master strategies, but they were able to just recapture this arc without any contest. So 16OT tried to do master strategies, but the arc is already gone. And that is going to be the last arc. 5 minutes, 50 seconds to go for the match. 7 minutes for the arc to spawn. So yeah, that is the last arc. It looks like 16OT though is just going to try to have some fun. Try to take this obelisk. If we're up here, might as well, right? So I think master strategies is a super interesting skill. Probably one of the most interesting skills out of the new ones. Because if you don't know, you can actually teleport an arc carrier with it. So I'm going to be pretty curious to see how people choose to use master strategies as these playoff stages move along here, as this obelisk is getting swarmed down by 16OT, and there is an XY garrison, so they will be able to take this obelisk. Let's go. They were able to take the obelisk, but they were not able to capture the arc, so it is all for naught. And yeah, I think the biggest thing that 16OT definitely oh, by the way, they gave the obelisk back here. Pretty interesting, as they are reswarming it again. 16OT could definitely hold their heads up high, you know, being top 16, especially in Horus, which is, you know, the oldest realm and, in my opinion, the toughest realm to be in. Although, you know, Anubis is getting pretty stacked as well with GV, 1960 teams, WIB. But yeah, like being in this spot is really, really impressive for 16OT here. So they definitely put up a good fight. The game was relatively close, but now it is a 12k point lead. It's 490 points per minute from 1718, 290 points per minute from 16OT. I wish the live stream worked. We'll definitely be fixing that in between 14 and 15 UTC. But yeah, this game is still very, very entertaining from both sides here. They actually have some Osiris League winners from 1718, which is, I think that's what this means. I think this means that you won an Osiris League previously. So 1718 definitely super impressive team. And we'll have to see what happens in the upcoming matchups with 1718 and whoever they're going to verse. Yeah, 16OT here just got overmatched, but it's no harm, no foul, right? It happens to the best of us here, as we see they're starting to swarm down this desert altar here with the Heraclius YSS, I would assume, garrison. And yeah, look at them. They're just starting to swarm down these marches. I think this is good practice for 1718, actually. Kudos to 16OT for staying in and, you know, continuously fighting here. So at least 1718 will be able to practice holding structures and all of that. So we'll have to see how they do in their next matchup. And let me just check who they will be facing in the schedule here. 1718 will be fighting the winner of 1v and 93L, so that's going to be a tough road if they have to fight 1v. And if 93L ends up winning against 1v, then, you know, that's a tough road as well, because that means they won against 1v, meaning that, you know, they are a very, very, very strong team. So it is looking like the game is starting to wind down here. 2 minutes left, as 1718 is holding this desert altar, very impressive hold actually with the amount of marches here. But it does look like with the rally coming in, 16OT will be able to capture this Desert Altar. It's the rally is actually doing the circle of death here, where you're trying to find a march to a slot to start swarming down the structure, as we see 16OT holding their own Desert Altar as well. Hard push by 1718. So it looks like they're trying to at least capture some structures here, as they actually took the obelisk of 16OT. And are they starting to swarm down cities? I guess this is to reset. But yeah, they were able to take the obelisk of 16OT in the top side. They're able to take the, at least I think, yeah, this Sky Altar is definitely going down. Although this gen is pretty tanky here, but with no reinforcements and being like 10x swarmed here, it's going to be too hard for them to hold, as we see that structure fall, as we see 16OT, the Desert Altar falling. And let's see if their own Desert Altar, is looking pretty healthy. But yeah, when you look at the map here, 1718 holding almost like the whole north side of the map. So GG's to 16OT, GG's to 1718, and congratulations to 1718 for making it to the next stage here as the match winds down. 15 seconds left to go here, and as we see the point differential being 12k, has entered the Desert Altar. Okay. Oh, they were able to capture the Desert Altar last second, and there you go. Victory, GG's to 16OT, as 16OTA actually won the individual most valuable player at 210,733 points. As we see that 1718 won both the arc score but also the occupation score, winning by a total of 12k points. So GG's to both teams, and good luck to 1718 in the next round versus 1v. And with that, I'll catch you guys next time.